Human mind is a social construct. It is nothing but the sum total of all the conceptual habits of judgment, such as good and bad, liking and disliking, and so on, thrust upon an individual according to the institutional necessity. When this necessity changes, every agency of such institution comes together to change the mind. So the constituents of human mind are very fragile, as these are always meant to suffer their subjection to the whims of institutional authority. Human mind is therefore a frightened one. It is always expecting and waiting for the explanation or any conceptual pattern wherein it can feel secure. Man is the most gullible animal. He can be taken to any belief system. You can make him believe anything, any hell or heaven. Just go on with all the repetition of your stories. That is why institutions are always ready to answer you. It will never leave you your space to find the answer all by yourself, because whoever has given you the answer sought claims to have authority over your behavior. And in the acceptance of that answer, you also acknowledge your obedience to them. If you have found the answer all by yourself, there is no question of such institutional subjection. All your movements and quests are conditioned by every kind of institutional concepts. The authority of conceptuality only leads us from one concept to the other, creating an intellectual labyrinth with no probability of getting out. The very conspiracy of all the conceptual authorities like religion and political idealism is that at first they create a myth of problems that are actually non-existent, such as heaven or hell, or a hypothetical utopia to reach, and then they will pretend to give you the solution, a way out to these problems. Every imagination has another imagination as its solution, as the meaning of a concept leads to just another concept. Meaning of a word just suggests another word, and nothing else. It's a labyrinth. And this very fun is exposed also as no two institutions, whether they are religious or political, come to an agreement regarding the nature of such problems and their solutions. No two persons imagine alike or dream alike, but the pity is the way the people follow them, such institutional projects of problems and solutions. It is like living the dreams of others with no life of their own. All the religions are therefore lifeless activities. It is only non-institutional or non-conceptual spirituality that provides you the space to live your life to the fullest. A man of spirituality doesn't take a project. He doesn't at all have a project to destroy the prevailing culture of his community or society. But his very awareness is changed. All such cultural activities to him are merely the festivals of getting himself related to others. Human relation is always of the supreme importance that ultimately takes a human being out of the anthropocentrism to an integrated existence with this universe. Spirituality is the ultimate freedom and the very creative process. If removal of all the illusions is a creativity, then spirituality is the highest form of creativity. God is actually a conceptual necessity. In the realm of non-conceptuality, there is no God but godliness. no religion but spirituality. As God is a concept and so is limited. Every theory plays within the confines of conceptualization, but non-conceptuality has no limit. Spirituality enjoys a non-conceptual infinity. However, realization of our relation to the other as well as to the nature is more important than the realization of any of the prevailing institutional concepts like God or other kinds of political idealism and the ideas of success and failures associated with them. To live our now and here with the totality of our presence is the first priority of our existence, as it is in sync with the very rhythm of the universe. Any conceptual separation blocking this relation to others arranged by a religious or political authority is actually an effort to corrupt our vision so that we may not see that very cosmic rhythm and continue in a perfect slavery to such institutional authority. As every moment we are making effort at something or other, so we are in constant subjection to various kinds of frustrations. Because all our conceptual success is always shifting. You can never achieve it. Effortlessness is a non-conceptuality. No original feeling can be practiced. No natural quality like love, sympathy, modesty, or honesty can be cultivated with conceptual effort. Our present education system reaches its optimum hypocrisy in its emphasis of practicing, cultivating, improving, or even sometimes it claims to be creating such qualities with diligent efforts. But actually, what our present education system tries is to control, to suppress, and to manipulate such original qualities just as tools to serve any given set of values and idealism, which the existing society is addicted to. And that is why no such education system leaves any freedom to the teachers to teach. No conspiracy can allow its agents any sort of freedom, whereas a true teacher should be regarded as an artist who should be subject to no imposition from outside. Teaching is a creative work, it's a creative art. Teaching is a creative art, and a teacher should be given the space of an artist. But it doesn't ever happen so. However, the fun is when the conspirators change, this prevailing addiction also changes. With the change of the set of values and idealism, the so-called perfect education system comes to be ashamed of itself, and then it seeks a new kind of efforts and techniques of controlling and suppressing and manipulating us to suit to this new addiction. Sometimes this change of addiction is given the name of revolution, but actually nothing changes. The play remains the same. Only the name changes and some of the rules of the play. Ideals somehow always manage to survive and lavish in its exploitation of the validity and vitality of human beings. A real revolution is to go beyond such ideals so that the exploitation stops and the vitality of man is saved to get to the original self so that he can live his real life. Rigidity is the very way of an institution and discipline is its chief mechanism. No real freedom is of any concern to such institution. It only demands its own successful existence through exertion and expansion and nothing else. Conforming to such discipline is only fueling and refueling to this institutional ego. It is only when this institutional aggression stops, then only a true freedom can take place, otherwise not. Each obedience to such institutional discipline is violence itself. It tends to prevent any original question because questioning makes a mind so sensitive that it will ultimately demand its own freedom. Question itself has no ism. It is a rebellion against all conceptual ism. It deconstructs every conceptual authority and makes space for our pristine freedom. Any institution remains very afraid of that freedom as it knows that this freedom is the destiny of every one of us. So an institution seeks to delay the process because that is its only way to survive. It is a suffering to us because if we do not become what we are destined to be, we definitely suffer. Rigid discipline imposed on anything tends to destroy the very spirit of freedom and brews conceptual warfare. Actually, any effort to attain something is the play of an idealism. Idea is always a clever manipulator. It is not that we have never realized it, but we always forget it. Forgetfulness has become a habit with us, going through every birth. Each of our accumulation of understanding is bound to forget itself if a new birth happens. All our institutional education system puts utmost importance and stress not on our capability of creative questioning and realization but on our memory and the process of memorization. It emphasizes on the past of the very institution itself because memory is the tradition and tradition is its prosperity. But in such denial to any new realization and its own death, every tradition actually denies itself of its rebirth, and therefore it becomes corrupt and stinks. All our educational system concentrate to make us learn to live in problems. It makes us look at everything as a potential problem. Every aspect of our life is nothing but this problem only. Solution to any such problems only leads us nowhere. Solution to any such problems only leads us nowhere but to a greater problem. We do not learn to look at life with a view that is not a problem seeking one. We are made to get addicted to be problematic being. An institution survives by the temptation of providing security to us, but every institutional security always feeds and takes nourishment from its conflict with the other institutions and thereby actually keeps our living in the arena of perennial danger. Violence is the very culture of an institution. Violence is the very culture of any institution. Its very tradition, the very anxiety of our security and our very fear of death is an institutional construction. Institutional life forever goes on to frustrate our quest to find the most beautiful relation with the other. Institutional ambition never tolerates the growth of real integrated personality. All our religions and politics All our religions and politics are nothing but our very conformity to the existing conceptual authority. Our own life cannot be lived through them. The long manual remain contained in his habit of following others, all these institutions will continue to reign and rule us. Whatever is full of violence can never be right. Violence is the very measurement of how wrong we are in our action of everyday life. Violence is the disrespect and defiance of the fact that we are only a spontaneous cosmic process. Without remaining involved in our fullest presence now and here, if we are only thinking about what should be happening, what the others should be doing, we are not actually behaving morally. We are here only to respond to our internal sense of responsibility and external presence with full cosmic spontaneity. But to this original spontaneity is a very difficult task, as through 1,000 years we have become so much accustomed to our institutional living that we have developed a habit to remain as the sacrificial creatures to the dominating values of institutions. We feel relieved if we find the chain of authority on us. If we do not find the authority externally, then we must find it internally. But true morality remains beyond this institutional authority, internal and external. Unless we defy such authority, we can never identify the real beauty of the universe. A man of morality is always full of sympathy and love for the others. He becomes attentive to hear you, to feel you. He never argues because he knows that an argument doesn't involve any sharing. Rather, it is an arrangement and rearrangement of all our prejudices that have already kept us closed to any new feeling to enter in our very lifestyle. Whatever we think we know is only the cultural constructs by our institutional authority. We do not know, we do not recognize anything that doesn't belong to that culture imposed on us. It's a pity. Here one can say, where do all these concepts come from? Aren't they also a part of the same nature we live in? Doesn't our very nature serve a source to them? The obvious answer is yes. Nature, along with its modification into human nature, serves the very source of it, as both life and death come from the same nature. So this realm of conceptuality and non-conceptuality both belong to this very nature. But after each of our birth, we are here with a responsibility to ourselves to live our life to the fullest. It is the most pristine demand of nature itself on us, and as it demands so, it plays with us to see how far eligible we become to respond to that demand. If I am not eligible for any suffering, I do not get it. If I am not eligible for any enjoyment, I do not get it. Nature enjoys the very process of our becoming eligible. In response to that demand, if a feeling of responsibility to our own life comes, love takes place naturally, and we get back our own very self in its purer form. Here is the maze. Here is the nature's fun. The more we try to become ourselves, more distant we become from our own true self. The more we try to do something to find our own true self, the more distortions we cause to our own self. The very mystery of becoming is actually non-becoming. The very mystery of doing is non-doing. Regarding self-knowledge, the very idea of seeking is only a distancing from the sought. The more we seek, the more distant we become from ourselves. Most comprehensively, all this becoming, doing, and seeking belong to the realm of conceptuality, and obviously that is nothing but the play of death. All the movements of conceptuality are nothing but a melodramatic dance of death. And if we make a certain halt, all such process of becoming, doing, and seeking is stunned and helplessly admit to our serene silence that they are nothing but illusions. It is then a sheer sense of non-becoming, non-doing, and non-seeking that opens up a luminous realm of non-conceptuality. This very non-conceptuality is the art of living that transcends death in each of its forms and tastes eternity. He who knows this non-conceptuality knows how to talk to the flowers as well as to the stars and make both of their light more a soothing music. He knows that the songs of birds are nothing but the flowing light of distant, unseen stars. Songs differ, lights differ. Everything is this light and nothing else. The very process of conceptuality involving such becoming, doing, seeking, or attaining something doesn't happen without a certain quantity of corruptions, giving rise to jealousy, a sense of inferiority or superiority, and every other kinds of violence. Concepts always prove to be the worst kinds of violence, and that is why all our religions and politics are fraught with violence. Even the greatest idealism of non-violence is nothing but practicing and incurring violence upon our very self. A concept can exist only in challenge to negate its opposite concept. A concept survives only in resistance to other concepts. This very resisting and challenging is violence in its most powerful forms. So a man of concepts and ideals is full of violence either to others or to his own self, as if he is possessed by some sinister ghost and demons. He is actually a dead person with no personality of his own. It is only by getting free his own self from ideals and concepts he can feel his own real self or personality. The fun is that his real personality is a non-personal one. It is a pervasive sense of connectedness, a totality, breaking through every possible boundary like the wall of soap bubble. Indeed, a non-conceptual awareness is not personal, can never be. It is everything now and here. It is a cosmic personality, never to be realized with conceptual framework.